My father-in-law is old and unwell, so whenever there's an issue, my in-laws look towards my husband, oldest son, to solve them. It's not just his immediate family either. His entire extended family also expects the same thing. It would be fine if we lived in the same country, but we don't. So my husband often has to fly away to solve an issue someone else could have fixed, or play family judge, jury, and executioner. The latest issues are the consequences of a series of bad decisions made by my brother-in-law finally catching up to him. He got someone that isn't his wife pregnant, and she's been threatening to blow his life up. And he got involved in a bad crowd and is now struggling to get out. So my mother-in-law called my husband to ask him to come and fix things, to convince/bribe the woman to have an abortion, I think, and to somehow get the bad crowd to leave his brother alone. I think my husband knows someone in that crowd. He told me and was planning to leave immediately, but I asked him not to go. I don't want to be left alone with a newborn right now, and my brother-in-law is a big boy who knows what he's doing and can do just as much as my husband can to fix things. I started crying when I asked him not to go, and he ended up staying. A few days later, my brother-in-law called me to beg me to let my husband come because he desperately needed his help and that it was a time-sensitive emergency. I told him no, and he said I was being selfish and that as family, we should help each other during a crisis. Now he's angry at me. My mother-in-law also asked me to reconsider because the situation was causing stress for my father-in-law, and having my husband there would help ease his worry. Although he hasn't said anything, my husband also clearly wants to go. He's on the phone constantly with his family and is trying to solve things from here, but is very clearly frustrated that he can't do more and that he isn't there. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Convincing someone to have a termination against their will makes someone an idiot. She might not be evil and is only threatening to blow up his life, i.e. tell his wife about the affair and baby, I'm assuming. Because he's trying to force her to get rid of a baby, he 50% made. The brother-in-law is the definition of, well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions. He needs to figure it out alone. It is normal to help fix family problems, but getting involved in someone else's pregnancy and the bad crowd while they have a wife and baby at home is not normal. Does brother-in-law's wife know about all this? Because that's a shady darn family if they're hiding it from her. Brother-in-law is an idiot and doesn't want to take care of the mess he made. He needs to grow up and stop relying on this weird toxic family behavior. Not the idiot, OP, but your husband needs to talk to his sister-in-law and be a decent human being. Or you. Not the idiot. OP has a newborn. More than reasonable to ask her husband not to go. Even without that, I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask your husband not to drop everything and fly internationally during a global issue every time there's some family drama, since this happens rather frequently. I think it's crazy that the family would ask this of the husband. Also, who's expected to pay for all these flights? And lastly, what could he even do? His brother got a mistress pregnant. Literally, what could this husband possibly do? Give the husband's family a Zoom subscription for the holidays and call it even? I love that brother-in-law is calling you guys selfish. He's the one who decided to roll with the wrong crowd. He's the one who got another girl pregnant. He is the one who cannot deal with the consequences of his actions and wants his brother to come and deal with all the trouble he caused to bail him out of the results he brought upon himself. Then he dares to say you're selfish? What a joke. That's what I'm thinking too. What in the world would resolve that mess? Side lady is pregnant. The wife is cheated on. Does husband own a time machine? Brother-in-law needs a serious butt whooping, but that's just a nice bonus and satisfaction. It doesn't actually resolve anything. That family needs to own their mess, suck it up, and resolve their own crap. My 26, brother 29, is getting married in a few months, and Lily is amazing, but she's very demure. She lets her mother walk all over her and says nothing. I didn't know about Monster Mama until last week, and I found out quickly by God. So let's say where Lily is quiet, I am not. Last week, Lily, me, and her mother, went dress shopping. So naturally, she and my brother wanted one of our family to go too, and I was the obvious pick. She wanted our opinions, and it became clear that she and her mother didn't have the same style. Her mother liked mermaid dresses. Lily didn't. An hour in, Monster Mama told, not asked, her to try on a dress. Lily did not like this dress. It didn't flatter her arms, in my opinion. I could tell she wasn't a fan, so I said, "Why don't you try a dress that goes in at the hips?" She came out in a princess dress that hid her arms as she wanted and accentuated her waist. It wasn't my style, but even I couldn't deny she looked like a queen. She nearly cried. She was so happy in it. Her monster? I think she looks a bit fat. This annoyed me for two reasons. Number one, it's her daughter. Number two, I was sitting right next to her. I'm a size 22, at least 2 sizes bigger than Lily, but I held it in. After she told her to get a different dress, Lily came back out in another mermaid dress. Lily had completely given up. Her mother wouldn't stop saying, "This is the dress." I asked if Lily liked it. She didn't like that her arms were out. Her mother said, "It isn't your arms you need to worry about," and gestured to her belly. It wasn't flat, sure, but the cheek of this woman. I burst. Obviously, an argument ensued. The last thing I said was that it didn't matter if Lily was her daughter, because she would soon be my sister, and people don't talk to my sisters that way. Monster Mama then pulled the trump card. I'm paying for the dress. I let her buy the dress and leave. I then bought the other one, the one Lily loved, and told her to return the dress of Satan. We could lie as to why it couldn't be used and return her money. I apologized to her for ruining her day, but she just laughed. My brother picked us up and he said he wanted me to go because he knew what our mother was like. While we were in the car, her mother FaceTimed her, saying how disrespectful I was, how I insulted her, and that she wouldn't be at the wedding if I was there. She hung up and the rest of the ride was silent. I have tried to keep the peace and apologize, but the monster won't have it. Now I'm beginning to doubt if I should have gone off on her as I did. I don't want to ruin it for Lily. Not the idiot. You stood up for Lily, and it seems that this rarely happens. If I were you, I'd check with Lily and your brother on how they want to proceed, but I imagine the day would be much better without that mother. And honestly, you better believe her monster of a mother is making empty threats. She'll be at that wedding regardless of whether you're there or not. She isn't going to miss the chance to make a scene, or at least make you out to be the monster, to as many people as she can get to listen to her. By the way, you sound like an awesome sister, and someone I would want in my corner too. As someone who has family drama surrounding my wedding, having a third party sticking up for us would have been great. I agree you are not the idiot, but from here on out, maybe try to be cordial, at least to not create as much tension for your future sister-in-law. Having the problem family at the wedding can be super stressful, but again, I'm glad you said something. Oh boy, you are the idiot. Your instincts were spot on, and your intentions were good, but you didn't go about this the right way, and may have just made Lily's life harder. Now Lily's getting even more chewed on. No matter what choice she makes, you're the one who put her in that position. Telling Monster about herself to her face accomplished nothing but to make you feel good at the moment, and that's not the most important goal here. I've been married to my wife for 3 years. I have a teen son from my previous marriage, and his grandparents and I are on good terms. We've set up a joint account to contribute towards its college fund. The problem started when my wife requested that I pull money from my son's college fund to pay for a C-section in a private hospital. I declined her request and refused even to negotiate. She complained about how I didn't seem to care about her or our son's well-being, even though there was nothing to worry about in terms of health. Yes, every medical procedure has its own risk, but the local hospitals we have are decent and offer excellent care. All family members and friends had their kids there. She disagreed and criticized the poor service local hospitals have and insisted that this was a big deal since it concerned her and our son's health. I tried assuring her, saying she would be fine, but she argued that I have no idea what it's like and told me that if I refused to put money towards the C-section, then I shouldn't be surprised when she puts her maiden name on our son's birth certificate instead of my family's name. I refused as I saw no need to waste money on private hospitals when free service and care were available. She stopped bringing it up, and days later, she had a scheduled C-section at the local hospital, and I wasn't allowed to be at the hospital, and I respected her wish. I only saw my son when she came home, and I was shocked to learn she went ahead and put her maiden name on the birth certificate. Of course, I immediately went off on her, but she said I caused this and claimed I favored my oldest over my youngest before he was even born. I said she was dead wrong and called her petty and vengeful for doing this, purely to punish me, solely because I could not afford a private hospital. Her family watched, and she told me to step out of the room, but I said we weren't finished talking. She started crying and her mom got involved and told me to step out because I was stressing her daughter out. I argued with her too and asked if she approved of any part of her daughter's behavior, and she just shook her head, telling me to calm down and give her some time to rest. She said no, but I bear the blame too for disregarding my wife's needs after she made them clear and pointed out that pulling some money for the private hospital wouldn't hurt. My parents disagreed and were angry and refused even to visit, calling my wife unhinged and toxic. Not the idiot. That money is for a college fund and is earmarked as such. Therefore, it should have been the end of the discussion. Your wife sounds petty and exhausting. I get that pregnancy is stressful. That's no excuse for acting maliciously. She has no right to dictate what to do with the money you put aside for your teenage son. The baby she had is yours too, so her decision to give him only her name was nothing but spiteful. I disagree. How much is OP putting in the fund a month? Is it interfering with his ability to contribute financially in other areas? Could they have taken out a loan? Could he have pulled together some money and asked his and her parents for the rest to make it up? He straight up said no. End of discussion. That's wrong. Most women don't know they'll have to get a C-section until an issue arises. Perhaps she was fine with a public hospital until the doctor told her she'd need a scheduled C-section. Birth injuries and birth trauma can cause lifelong issues. OP straight up dismissed every concern and told her to suck it up. That's not okay. Okay, so why is it an idiot move for the child to have the mom's surname, not the father's? You know, the person who carried them for 9 months in their womb and went through a very traumatic and invasive procedure to birth them? OP already has a child with his surname. I recently got married, but before my husband, 31, and I, 25 female, got married, he wanted me to stay at home since he works a great job. If I wanted to work, I could use my money for my expenses. So I worked before the wedding, but with wedding planning that I did alone without husband's help because he didn't want to and working 70 hours a week, it became too much, so I quit. Mother-in-law lives with us 6 to 10 months out of the year and will move in with us when father-in-law retires. She is emotionally and mentally draining, but husband is a mama's boy and believes his mom is always right. I did most of the cooking and the cleaning, etc., but the credit always went to her, and my husband would tell me to do better. Then husband and mother-in-law started telling me to start working because I had too much time on my hands, and it wasn't as if I was doing much in the house since mother-in-law took care of everything. Again, I did most of the work, but credit went to her. If I told husband that I did it, he wouldn't believe me. Before we got married, husband and I would go out, have date nights, but now, even if I ask to get coffee, he refuses. If I ask to go out to dinner, he'll say no. But when his sisters in their 30s ask, he instantly agrees, paying for them and their families. Before we got married, husband told me he'd pay me a monthly allowance to cover any expenses I had while I stayed home. But after we got married, he claimed that money was tight, so he couldn't. Since I had bills and loans to pay off, was unhappy at home, was constantly told by mother-in-law and husband to start working, I decided to work. Mother-in-law went back, so now I work and do everything in the house while helping take care of his niece since his sister lives with us. I do most of the chores. I asked my husband to help around a little, but he says he's too tired after work. He works from home while I don't, and that if I expect him to help out in the house, I need to start paying him half of the mortgage. I refused because I was only asking him to help a little. He lived alone before we got married, so he is capable of it. Plus, we went over this before the wedding. However, he keeps demanding that I start paying half of the mortgage since I live here for free and work regardless of whether or not he helps in the house. He is very comfortable with money, not struggling at all. He also gets money from father-in-law monthly. I do all the chores, do all the cooking, buy things for the house, furniture, decor, and necessities, because mother-in-law wouldn't let me when she was here. I also paid for too many vacations we took, while he claims that his paying for the honeymoon was more than enough. I make less than 1/3 of what he does. I am rarely consulted for decisions in the house. In-laws and husband make all of them. I already do more than what we agreed to before the wedding while working. I don't think I need to pay him anything. Am I the idiot for refusing to pay him half the mortgage? Not the idiot, but I don't know if I've ever seen so many red flags in a single post. Surely you saw something before the wedding. Don't pay him. Save your money and get out. The reason he doesn't want you to work is that you are financially dependent on him and can't leave. The reason he all of a sudden wants you to pay for half the mortgage and the other things is that he knows you don't make much and he can siphon all your money away, leaving you once again financially dependent. Live there for free? They're freaking married. He's treating her like an indentured servant roommate freeloader. If this were me, I'd leave, find a lawyer, and tell him to shove it. She's being disrespected left, right, and center, and they don't care. Why should they? After all, she's only his wife. This is disgusting. It's hard to grasp why OP hasn't run already. This guy has no redeeming features as described. Living with him must be exhausting. I don't get these kind of stories. Can you not see all the red flags waving in your face as you type this? You are not a wife. You're a slave to the entire family. Your husband doesn't respect you, and neither does the rest of your husband's family. You will never do anything good enough or be good enough for them. You've been bamboozled into giving your life away to be their servant and whipping girl. And if you have kids, good luck getting to have any kind of say for anything regarding parenting them. Get out ASAP. Update. Am I the idiot for refusing to pay my husband money? Hi everyone. I didn't expect such a response. I'm overwhelmed but also thankful to you all. I didn't get into the relationship knowing this side of him. He was very different and had a lot of charm. He hid this side of him very well. He became a different person right after we got married, and I was taken aback. There was essentially no honeymoon phase, except the 5 days when we went on our honeymoon. I've only shared this with my immediate family, and they support me if I leave. My family told me that these were red flags. I wanted a second opinion because I didn't know if my family was being biased or not. Many people said to me that the first years of marriage are the hardest. I doubted myself whether these were red flags or just things I was supposed to endure. And no, I didn't know how much of a mama's boy he was before we got married. I've suggested counseling before, but he became defensive, saying counseling makes things worse. I was afraid to leave because the road ahead seemed difficult, and I didn't have the courage to face it. And I'm also afraid to face defeat. I also haven't left yet because I don't know what my breaking point should be. I didn't realize how wrong my husband and his family are. I have been thinking of leaving for a while, but this helped make my mind up. I'm going to get my finances in order before doing anything else, though. Yeah, he pulled the classic white knight narcissist bait and switch. First, say everything you want to hear, then slowly pull the rug out from under you and make it your fault. Your mother-in-law isn't even with you full-time yet, so save money and run before she is. They just wanted a servant. Mother-in-law was waiting for their son to marry so she could move in and be waited on. Now they want you to earn, pay, cook, clean, serve, etc. Please get out before you have a baby. Why do you need a breaking point? Isn't it better to cut your losses early and move on without all the extra stress of the breaking point? Nothing necessarily has to be wrong to justify leaving. Don't look at it as defeat so much as a new chapter of your life, and you'll come out stronger now, knowing what you don't want from someone. Everyone is worthy of love and respect.